Millington Hills is by far the most active place, paranormal wise, that I have ever been to, that I have ever investigated. That place has scared the crap out of me numerous times, but it's also intrigued me, and I love to keep going back because every time you go back, you seem to experience something new. Now, Millington Hills is cursed, so to speak. Locals and hunters alike don't venture into that forest. They won't. There is very scarce wildlife. There's not a lot of interaction between humans and animals there. A little bit of a story. Back in the 1800s, there was a sawmill that had caught fire in Millington Hills and burned well over 1 million acres and did take the lives of hundreds of people. The area wasn't very populated, but I mean, hundreds of lives is still a lot. After the fire, hundreds, if not thousands, of Indians were slaughtered on that land, and that's where most of the paranormal activity comes in. There were, I believe, 3 separate tribes that were slaughtered on that land. And rumor has it that Millington Hills is filled with Indian burial grounds. To my knowledge, nobody has ever really found any of the burial grounds, but I believe that they are there and they do exist. There is a lake that surrounds the forest, and again, rumor has it that there are Indian burial grounds under the lake. But again, nobody has ever been able to substantiate that. My experiences with Millington Hills started in July of either 2010 or 2011. I had joined a paranormal group, and we were meeting up with another paranormal group out in Millington Hills to do a nighttime investigation. Now, there's a lot of places to enter Millington Hills, but most of the entrances are really hidden, so you really have to know what you're looking for to find them. And that happened to be one of the locations that we went to. There's you cannot explain how to get there, because you just won't be able to find your way in. You have to know somebody that knows how to get back there to take you, otherwise you'll never find your way. So the day started off, we got there, it was in July, so, heat of summer. We got there about 5 p.m., so we still had plenty of daylight left. When we got there, we met up with the other group, and the leader of the other group, had really done his research, so he was able to tell us quite a bit about the place and what kind of things people experience there. So when we got there, they were at the base of the trail to meet us so they could take us back to their camping spot, which was a really big clearing that was right on the lake. I mean, it was beautiful. You just wouldn't think that the place was cursed. So we walked on the trail and we got to where they were camping, and they had their tent and they had a fire going, and so we all sat down and talked and made a game plan for the evening. We all went over our equipment, to see what each other had. And I was just blown away by what we were being told. I mean, during the day, you don't get a creepy feel for Millington Hills. So I wasn't really sure what to really expect going in, but I was excited nonetheless. So before it got dark, we decided that we were just going to go do a little bit of, scouting just to make sure we weren't going to run into any, um, cliffs that would drop us off into the water at night or, something like just had to make sure that everything was safe and we knew where, the trails and stuff were. So we did that. And, it was fine. Still daylight, so there wasn't a lot of creepy vibe going on. But once it got dark, that all changed. We were also told that Millington Hills is so haunted that it was known as the Forbidden Valley. People were warned all the way back to the 1800s to stay out of that forest. And, the Indians would tell, other people, don't go there. And we were soon to find out why. So when it got dark, there's as you're looking at the lake, there's trail to the right, trail to the left. So we decided, okay, we're gonna start off, we'll do the trail to the right. So the trail led you up a very steep incline, very difficult and uncomfortable to walk up. But once you get to the top, you reach like another clearing. Now in that area, there is like one other house. But it's, quite a ways away, but you don't really have to worry about anybody living out there. So we got to the top of the clearing, and at first, there wasn't really anything going on. We were doing our thing. But then we started hearing twigs snapping, and it sounded like something was throwing almost small pebbles at us because it sounded like rain on a tin roof. But we're out in the middle of nowhere, so there's no roof and there was no rain. So as we pushed on, the further you got down that trail, it became more and more overgrown. So we were pushing our way through a lot of brush and twigs and a lot of uneven ground, which is dangerous in itself. And just all of a sudden, we all got this just horrible feeling like we were being followed. And, we all just kind of stopped dead in our tracks, and we were just, looking to the left and to the right and trying to figure out, okay, where is whatever is following us, where is it? Well, we didn't physically see anything on that trail. So we ended up going back down the trail, and we decided to take the next trail. Well, going up that trail, there's a lot of clearings that are off of these trails. So as we were walking up the trail and we get to the first clearing, and I just stopped it dead in my tracks. And everybody was like, what do you see? What do you hear? What's going on? And I was just staring at this clearing and I wasn't saying anything. And everybody's like, what? I eventually looked at everybody and I said, there are lines of Indians standing in that clearing, and they are just standing tall and their head held high and their hands down in front of them. And the leader of the other group said, this is one of the spots where one of the massacres happened. And what I was envisioning, what I was seeing, were the Indians that were ready to be slaughtered. They were standing their ground. They were prideful. They held their head high, and that's what I was seeing. So, we stopped, we did took lots of video. We got the recording out. The EMF was going off the charts. We didn't listen to the recordings right away. That was done at a later time. So we didn't know at that time that we had actually picked something up. But after we did all that, we continued up the trail and we started, noticing black shadows again, not chasing us, but following us. And, we did our thing with our video and our recorder. So on the way back down the trail, I was in the back and all of a sudden I felt something grab my waist and I screamed. And when everybody turned around to look at me, I was just white as a ghost. I was scared shitless. And the leader of the other group, who was in front, had told me, when I turned around, I seen a black shadow shoot up into the trees. That black shadow is what grabbed me. I was not going to be last anymore. I refused to be last. So I switched spots with one of the people in my group. And we get a little ways down, and all of a sudden she just goes down like a ton of bricks, just drops to her knees. And we're just all standing there staring at her like, oh my God, what happened? And she just said, I just feel so sick to my stomach. And it was just before we happened to get to the clearing where I had seen all those Indians standing there. And she was feeling the emotions of the Indians, and it just brought her to her knees. And we had to sit there with her for a few minutes because she couldn't get up. So we get back out into the clearing and, we chill out for a bit, get some water and get something to eat. And then we start back. There's another trail that we were going to go down. So we start going down that. And me and one of the other people from my group, we turn around and there was this huge black shadow just blacking out the entire trail. Normally, you could see there was a full moon, not a full moon, but the moon was really bright that night. So it was reflecting off the lake. And no matter where you were in those trails, you could see the moon reflecting off the lake. We couldn't see it this time. There was something so big and massive blocking that trail. And we got out the video camera again, and you couldn't see anything through this on the screen. There was nothing there, but with our naked eye, we could see that there was something so black and huge. And so, after we all composed ourselves, we continued on down the trail. And there was like almost like a little marker, not really a grave marker, but not even really a trail marker, but just like a little stone marker. So we stopped and we started doing our EVP session and had the EMF meter out. And the EMF was going absolutely crazy. So one of the other people from the other group, started asking questions, are you one of the Indians? What's your name? And once he started asking those questions, we just heard noise after noise, and stuff started to get thrown at us. I don't know what it was, but we could just feel things starting to hit us. And the EMF meter was just going off the charts. And so we did the typical experience, set the EMF meter down, and asked the spirits to move up to the EMF meter to make it go off, and they would. And then we would tell them, okay, back away now, it's okay, back away, and they would. And then the meter would stop. And we did this for quite a while. And everybody else, I mean, so many people felt, they were felt being touched, and just hearing like whispers and voices, and seeing the huge black shadow that blacked out this trail. And the trail was pretty wide, so it was something massive that did that. And I know a lot of people aren't going to believe it. There are just some non-believers out there, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but that was just the experience that me and my team had. So we did a little more investigating, and then we went out to the clearing, and by this time it was about 4 or 5 in the morning. So we, packed up our stuff, and as we were heading back down the trail to leave, the leader of the other group had told us that one of the trees that we had passed on the trail was known as the suicide tree. Back in the 1980s, there was a teenage boy and a teenage girl who wanted to be together, but their parents wouldn't let them, so they had decided to commit suicide at that tree. The girl was sitting on one side of it, the boy was sitting on the other, and they both shot themselves. And this was substantiated. The leader of the group did find the newspaper article at the library. And around this tree, I mean, it's a huge, massive tree. And around this tree, nothing grew. Nothing at all. No brush, nothing. So, I mean, we believe it was contaminated grounds from the suicide. So we actually ended up going back to the suicide tree and doing an EVP session, and we did pick up, a few words. Sounded like a male. Never heard a female, but we did hear a male. And at one time we did hear a gunshot. So I'm thinking, I don't think it was an actual human that did the gunshot. It was something in the forest. So after we got back, I went home, and before we left, anytime we leave a haunted location, we always tell the spirits, you're not to follow us. This is your home. You are to stay here. You will not leave this place with us. So we did that. But when I went home and went to bed, I kept having these horrible, horrible dreams about Millington Hills, about things grabbing me, and I had this overwhelming urge to go back again. It was like it almost took over my thoughts. All I wanted to do was be back at Millington Hills. So even though we told the spirits, you're not leaving with us, something definitely attached to me and came home with me. And it was just like that really weird, certain things started happening around the house, and it was like that for about 3 weeks, and then it just stopped. But upon analyzing the video and the recordings, we did see many, many things. There were a couple shadows that we did see, but we never did see the big massive one that blacked out that entire trail. Never seen that on video. But we did hear, the voices and whispers and the gunshot, growls. We heard a lot of growling. There's no wildlife in there that would have done that. It's very limited wildlife back there. So a few months later, we decided that we were going to go back again. And again, we met up with a couple people from the other group. And this experience was more scary not because of the forest itself, but because of the people that we encountered. And people avoid those woods. People do not go in those woods. It's just people don't do it. But we got there and we started just really, you know, broke out our equipment and stuff like that. And next thing I know, we decide, you know, okay, we're going to split up, or, you know, we're going to go here and the other team is going to go, you know, another path. So we all had walkie-talkies on us. And as we're at the top of one of the clearings, one of the other groups radioed in and said, "Get your butts down here now." And we thought, shit, what the hell are they seeing? So we go running down there and they meet us in the initial clearing and they're just like, "We got to go. We got to get out of here now." And we're like, "What the hell is going on? What did you guys see?" And he said, "There are people camping out there. They have a makeshift tent, not even a real tent, a makeshift tent." And now when you go to Millington Hills, just because we didn't know what to expect, the first time, of course, you know, people brought protection, and the same the second time. So we were then told that as the other group was walking through the woods, all of a sudden there was flashlights shining at them. But nobody said anything. So they drew their protection and, you know, said, "We're armed. Who are you and what do you want?" Nobody said anything. The people holding the flashlight, despite being told that the group is armed, advanced towards the group. It would not back off. And kept telling these two guys camping in the woods, you know, "Everybody's armed. What do you want? You need to stop right now." And eventually they did stop. And the group backed away. And that's when we met in the clearing. And they told us that. And we were just like, what the hell are people doing out here? In the middle of the forest, these two guys, makeshift tents. Are they escaped convicts? Are they wanted people? What the hell is the deal with them? So we decided, all right, we need to haul ass out of here. We don't know what their intentions are. Even though we're all armed, we need to go. So we going down the trail to get back to the car. We all, you know, single file line. One in the front was armed. One in the back was armed. And then in the middle. And it was just a very paranoid, constantly looking over your shoulder, constantly looking back and forth. And normally it's about maybe about a 5 to 7 minute walk down that trail to get back to the car. I mean, we made it in probably 3 minutes. We hauled ass down that trail. So then after that experience, me and a couple of people from my group went back a couple months later. During the day, we didn't want to stay there at night, not without other people. And that's another thing about Millington Hills. If you go out there to investigate at night, you have to have at least, you have to be armed with something, and you need a lot of people. But anyways, we went out there during the day and we found these two guys' camps. And yeah, I mean, it was just a tarp and a string for the tents. And there was just, you know, a bunch of empty cans canned food and stuff. So we don't, I mean, we were watching the news for a few weeks. We don't know what these guys' intentions were. Maybe they were just homeless, but I mean, this is out in the middle of nowhere. Um, but, we just thought, okay, so if we ever go back out there, we have to go when there's plenty of daylight because we need to scout the area before we actually do our night investigation. And we actually haven't been back since then to do a night investigation, but I did take my kids a couple years ago. We went out there during the day, and I mean, it wasn't creepy, but it definitely had a more creepy vibe that time when it was just me and my two kids than it was during the day, with me and 10 other people. Um, my kids and I, we had a couple experiences, but nothing major. But I do want to go out for a night investigation again. So if anybody is in Michigan, near, Millington, if you want to go out for a nighttime investigation with me, I would love to set up a time. As weird as it sounds, the spirits seem to be more active when it's hot out. When it's colder out, we don't get a lot of activity. So, summertime is the best time to go. So, I mean, yeah, if anybody wants to, make a group, we can all go out there and, you guys can experience. I mean, I don't really recommend it for newbies. I'm not trying to sound rude or anything, but there's just a lot of situation out there just because of what's out there to go in there not knowing anything. But, if, yeah, just definitely message me if anybody wants to go out there with me. Maybe we'll do this summer. But I do have a lot more paranormal experiences that I would love to share with you guys. So I am going to make some more videos. This is my first time really making a video like this, so I apologize if I was like all over the place. But yeah, I would love to share my other experiences with you, and I would love to hear yours. If you have any experiences, message me and let me know. They don't have to be in Michigan. Just in general, I like hearing about other people's experiences too. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this and bearing with me with my first time doing this. So yeah, if you guys want to get together and go out to Millington with me, let me know. And this summer we can set something up. See you guys later.